Hi there. Hi. Look, there's this thing, and it has drawbar controls and all the organ stuff for the Leslie speeds and all that stuff. Pitch and bend mod wheels. Also has a lot of controls for the mono synth. But it doesn't have a lot of controls for the piano or the ensemble. That's that section right here uh, to the left of the screen. And from there, I want to see, here's the organ and here's the synth, but there's not much controls here for the piano and ensemble. So if I want to go to the ensemble and page over and enter the components, I can line up a bunch of sounds, 4 of them. So here I want to go for a mellotron thing. So I have tape violins, tape choir, tape flute. It doesn't have tape brass. It has a trumpet section. Trumpet section number 7 and in the wind category is the closest if you close down the filter a little bit on that sound to get to that mellotron brass kind of sound. Not great, but it's the closest thing in this machine. So if I want it, I have a volume knob that affects all 4 of these layers. But if I want to control each layer individually, I'd have to go into the menu and then I'd have to come down here and put the volume and then go over here and put the brass down and then go over here and put the choir up. So if I had real-time control over these 4 volume things here, then that would be better as a kind of a live performance. Easy way to manipulate volume of this particular layer, which I can send out an individual output on the back of this thing. Pretty cool. So in order to do that, I have these 2 machines. This is the Faderfox. No, this is the Faderfox EC4. This is the Befaco VCMC. It's a Eurorack module that I put into a 4MS powered pod, 20 HP, I think it is. So what happens here is we hold down function. We get out of edit, and it's kind of like in this screen. I named these 4. But let's start with these blank ones along the top here. Hold down the blue button as function. And then we get to Midi Learn. And then we're going to press the one we want the learn information to go to. So we're going to go on this top knob. And then we're going to go over here and start twisting the value knob of the parameter we want. So if we want volume, and then we come back here, and then instead of MIDI learn, we go MIDI edit, and we go to this first knob here, which you can scroll through this top knob to get through all the various 16 knobs. So if we want knob number 1, we see that it's learned, because I'm sending the MIDI from the organ into the top of this thing, into the MIDI import, that this got this numbers here. So let's get out of edit, and then we will MIDI learn again, and this time we'll press the second knob, and then we will go on to the volume of the second thing here, and we'll do 3 and 4. But that should have learned something. So then we will get out of that and go to edit. And now we can see that the settings are different. For instance, okay, here's the third knob here is ECO3, right? This is still by default set to a MIDI CC, channel 1, and it's the CC2, and it goes from 0 to 127. But if we go back here, these 2 knobs we've learned, and they're both NRPN. And we can see that the values of here are both the same, except for one little change here. 73, whoops, sorry. Haha, the camera does that, I don't know why. 73 and 74, right? So if we go out of edit and we go Midi Learn, and we start messing about here on this third thing, right? And then we're done learning, so let's go to edit. We see now that 3 has been changed from a CC value to an NRPN, right? Okay, so now we would go here and we would configure, we would say go to fader, and we want the function, and then we would go down to high res MIDI. It's the second to last, and I'm selecting these by pressing this in, and we would go to, we'll say the first option is NRPN 7-bit, and then we will choose the number. Now over here, this number is the one that's changing. So for this one, let's go, we're just going to guess that this one will be 73, and the Alice B will be 81. Okay, now we're back. And then we'll check the MIDI channel. That should be 1. That's what the organ is set to receive. Okay, we'll go back here. And now we'll start to move the first fader. You can see that it is sending out NRPN from 0 to 127. And we'll switch the camera view, and you can see that the only way to do this is to switch this knob here, right? You can see the values changing, but aha, over here I'm putting up fader 1 and all the way down, and that's 0, and it comes all the way up to 127. Kind of gets stuck at the at 126, the second to last value. It's a little bit wonky like that, but that's Euro rack modules for you, right? Okay, so then it's very important. In order to edit the second one, right, because we want to also put in this information, we push in and twist, and then when we let it go, we are now on, this is number 2 here. So we push in and twist again, and that's number 3, and then finally we can get all the way to, whoops, well, that's the global setting. We will get to that. 8, right? Ooh, there's also aux. Okay, so that's how you switch what fader you're editing. It took me forever to figure that out, because like, how do you get from 1, which we did do, to 2? You push in and twist. Anyways, this one we also have to change. So we'll get our numbers from here. So that was very straightforward. We push in, go to fader, go to function, high-res MIDI, 7-bit, and then we copy the numbers that we learned from the EC4. And said, why not just use the EC4? Because now this has the information in it. Like, well, I like faders instead of endless encoders. Okay. So now we're going to move this one here all the way up, all the way down, and see if that, oh, look at that, it does work. Let me see if I can put the selection thing over there so it's got that blue background so it's easier to see the white numbers. Yeah. And then all the way down, coming down to 0. Okay, that's neat. So down here, well, let's do another. Oops, doing that thing again. Fader, function, high-res MIDI 7-bit, and for this one we're going to do 75, and this one is the usual 81, and there we go. Now let's see if 3 works. Yep, it sure does. Okay. And now, since we see a pattern here that this one is 73, 74, 75, I think we can safely assume that the next one is 76. So if we go back here to fader 4, we can go fader here, function, high-res MIDI, this, and then, was it 75? Let's go then 76. Ta-da! And then go to 81. And then back, and then we will come up the volume and all the way back down, and yeah, up again and down, it goes to 0. Right. Okay, that's neat. Now, drawbars are at their loudest when they're down, and then they're quiet when they're all the way up, pushed in. So, if we want to repeat that kind of method here, even though volume sliders are different, but let's say we wanted to reverse the minimum and the maximum, we can do that. So let me go to 4 here, and the first function is back, to get us back to that home screen. The next one is CV, and the next one is fader. That's the one we chose before. We go into there, and instead of choosing function, we come down to the second to last option that's called out range. And here we can go end, which will get us back, but here we can get the range, minimum and maximum. So in this case, for the minimum, you'd press in, and then we'd twist the numbers till it reached the maximum, which, as we all know, is 127. And then we would come here to the maximum, and then it'll when we select the minimum as 127, the maximum will all automatically jump up a number. So that's too bad. We have to turn it all the way back down so it reaches 0. No bother. And so then we will go up here, twist it till it reaches end, and then back up here and back here. And so now we were doing number 4, right? So up here should be 0, and down here should be the full volume, like on the drawbars of an organ. So all the way up, oh, it reaches 0, and then coming all the way back down, reaches the maximum. So if you really want the Mellotron voices to come alive, you pull all your 4 drawbars down. So just wanted to show you that that is indeed possible to do. So yeah, as soon as you get all of the programming done with the EC4, had to help us to choose what numbers we pick, LSB, MSB. We would then press and hold this button twice for 2 seconds, and then it gives us the global menu. And from here, you can't see it on the video very well what these texts are, but if you have one of these, I think you can follow along if you press and twist and press and yeah. So this is only it's a push encoder thing. But anyways, you would come down here to the 5th option here and save config into, say, user slot. There's 1 through 4, and then the last one is sysx, but you would save it on whatever slot you want, and then that's it. It just goes right back. And then whenever you power this thing off and then power it on, you can, well, when you power it back on, it won't forget the settings, right? Because otherwise you have to program it all over again. So be sure that you save your work before turning the thing off, because it's actually a bit tedious to go through each and every one of these faders. And don't forget, this thing also has buttons down here that I think can also be programmed. So for here, there's the fader. Is it gate? Because this could be cool. Let's say we want to just, instead of a volume, we want it to just turn off and on like quickly, so that it's right off. So what we would do, I think, is we would get out of edit, right? And then we would come here, and instead of the there's a switch that just goes, that takes it off and on. It turns the whole thing off and on. So I wonder what would happen if we then came over here. Let's go learn, and we'll choose this one, and then we'll go off and on here a few times, and then hopefully that should have learned. So we go edit, number 5, NRPN. Okay. Interesting. So then that was fader number 1. So let's go here, and we will go to gate instead of fader, and we will go to function. Oh, I can do CC, but it can't do high-res MIDI. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So note gate, note latch, latch for an on and off button. What's STP? Stop start. Oh, okay. Let's go back to function. CC latch, and then the controller. Yeah, that's just the regular thing. Okay, so that's the CC value. Yeah, that's a bust. No worries. I wasn't planning on using these buttons anyway, but maybe we will find a more basic function for them. Anyways, gotta go.